Hi, so in this video, I'm going to be going through 4 of the most frequently asked questions on careers in film. So this is going to be a simple video, more like a podcast. My name is Amy Clarke, and I personally worked in the film industry for a handful of years, working my way up from indie shorts to major budget feature films. So for these questions, we're going to be focused on professional film crew work. So question number 1 is, how do I get started in the film industry? So unless you have family working in the industry, it's going to take time to not only make the right contacts, but to also become trusted within this job role. So having a specific job role is going to be the key to getting jobs within a professional film crew. And if you're unsure what role or department you want to work within, then go onto a film set as a runner or production assistant and watch a real film set in action. To get onto professional film productions as a trainee, there might also be apprenticeships available in your country. In the UK, we have an organisation called Screen Skills. And here you can have a look, search online and see what type of options are available for you. So no matter what country you live in, there might be apprenticeship schemes available. If you don't get lucky enough to find an apprenticeship, likely to get started in film, you're going to need to work on a handful of low-budget film sets. And to get this experience within your role and to meet people in the industry. Okay, for example, if you want to be a costume assistant, you might need to work on 3 low-budget feature films as a costume assistant before you can find work on major budget films. So for myself, I had 5 film credits on low-budget film sets in my job role before I was getting hired for fully paid work. And you can find initial film industry jobs on job sites, on Facebook groups, through networking, and also on career pages of large companies like the BBC have many job openings and work experience. In short, to get started in film, you need to just start. You need to read up on how the film industry works, help out on local productions, and in time you are going to be trusted to work on major budget film sets. Question number 2, do I have to go to film school? So there's a lot of debate online over film school, and I really think it depends on the individual and if you personally want to go to film school. So you don't need a formal education to work in film, but you might want one. So there's many different types of options for film education, not just film school. So I'm going to go through these options now in order. Firstly, if you're based in the UK, we have a school leaving age of 16. And it's very hard to get a job at 16, so I think you should at least attend college and study until the age of 18. In the world today, it's better to have some higher education behind you. Further still, it's going to be even easier to get a job at 21 than at 19. So you might wish to go to university to get a degree either in film production or in another subject, because having a higher education is going to help in the future. So the way I see it is that most people in the next generation are going to have a degree of some form. And depending on your country and your family situation, university degrees might not even cost you a penny. So in the UK, you can get student loans and the payback is very affordable. And in some European countries, education is free until the age of 21. So if it is an option to have a free education up until 21, I think it's something that you should consider. Also, university degrees are not the same as film school. So film school is a specialist school that focuses on only teaching filmmaking. And a lot of people who go to film school either have a degree in film or I've worked in the film industry before studying. So this depends on the film school, but many people who attend film school are adults in their mid to late 20s. And if you are an adult, you can study in a film school no matter what your age. So you're going to find plenty of examples online of filmmakers who went to film school in their 30s, 40s, 50s. Many people taking a master's course at a film school are going to be a lot older. And then there's also short courses and workshops that are held at film schools. So, for example, if you know you want to be a production manager, you can go to film school and take a specific course in production management. Many film schools also offer very affordable workshops in film. So here we went through the options of film education. Some of the reasons why you might not want to study a higher education in film is you might simply not like film. Some people prefer to learn on the job. You might not be able to afford it. And also keep in mind that when it comes to money, if you're based in a first world country, there's going to be options of funding out there. So first of all, just do your research and see what options are available for you for funding. In the UK, all of our film schools have scholarships and funding options. And I think mainly it just depends on the individual. So I think you should try and get an education up until the age of 18, no matter where you live. That's the only rule I can think of. There's no age restriction to education or work in film. So instead of saying just no to film school, I think it needs to be kept as an option and it's worth looking into. So question number 3, how do I become a film director? So film directing is the most wanted, competitive job role, the most popular job role in the film industry. I have a film blog and about half of the people who email me are film directors or upcoming film directors. So like all creative, like all competitive job roles and all creative job roles, the path towards being a film director is not so simple. And there are also many different types of directors. That might sound a bit silly, but there are TV directors, commercial directors, independent directors, even directors who specialize in areas such as games industry, animation, online content creation. So to keep things simple, I'm going to focus on the film director. And I think when most people say they want to be a film director, they imagine the famous directors, the auteur directors. You know, they want to be the next Tarrantino, and I understand this desire to have a big job role because in the past I also wanted to be a big film director. Long story short, I changed my mind, but let's go through some of the different routes to being a film director. And the first thing every director has in common is that they make their own films, typically short films, to practice their craft. So if you haven't done so already and you want to be a director, make a film, make a short film, write the script. You don't have to spend money to make the film. You might also wish to seek out some formal education, either at university or at a workshop. And so that's the first things you do, just education in film and practicing making films. Secondly, you need to develop a full knowledge of the film industry. As a director, you need to understand screenwriting, you need to understand all the film crew job roles all together and how everyone works together on set. You need to understand how to work with actors and how to direct them. And you can learn how to do this through making your own films, through working on film sets, or by taking a filmmaking course. And learning how to make films and understand how all these pieces come together. So this is going to take many years to learn how to be a film director. This is no fast route. You need to learn and you need to just continue to keep learning about filmmaking in your career. Thirdly, after learning how to direct and practicing making films, you need to find a way to get known and trusted in the film industry. So film directors, old film directors and new, there's many different types of routes you can go through. So you can continue to make your own independent films, eventually making a feature film and applying for higher funding. And you can work in the film industry and work your way up the crew ladder with any role in the production department. So you can work your way into directing from another job role. And I know first ADs who've moved into directing. Some famous directors such as Ridley Scott worked as an editor. Del Toro worked in special effects makeup. And so you can do all these things. You can practice making films, you can study film, you can work in the industry, but you still might struggle. And so it might all work out in a handful of years. You might get trusted to work on big films, but more likely it's going to take like 10 years or more of making films, working in film, networking in the industry to become a professional director. So how do you become a famous big shot auteur director? Well, unfortunately, this is not always up to you to decide. It's about who you know, it's about how successful your films become, about how successful you are at getting funding. So you might make an independent film and get into a major festival and win an award. You know, this is like the old-fashioned way you hear about people make a film, they get into Sundance or wherever, and then they get known and hired as a director. So it's likely that you're going to probably have to make several low-budget films, several short films, several features, before you get trusted as a film director on budgeted productions. So it's a very long process. And importantly, you know, you don't want to be a director just for the fame and fortune. There are so much easier ways to make money out there. You have to be a director because you love film, because you love directing, because you love doing the job. So film directing is very complicated, and the career routes into directing are constantly changing, so you have to be open-minded. And if you have any more questions on film directing, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section and I'll answer any questions. So question number 4, should I move country to find film work? And I get asked this question surprisingly quite a lot. So not only should I move country, but also should you move city to have a film career? And of course, this depends on your location. So I'm UK based in the northwest of England, and I can travel for work on public transport all over the UK. This is a small country, so traveling from city to city is not going to be a problem. And when I first started out in film, people were less likely to pay for accommodation, but in time, on feature films, my accommodation was always covered. So it is possible to have a film career not living in a major city. However, if I did live in London or even Manchester, I do think I would get more work. So moving city does have its advantages. You need to decide what type of career and, importantly, what type of lifestyle you want. So every city in the world will have film work. Major cities are going to have more work. Now back to moving countries. So mainly people want to work in LA, in New York, in London. And unfortunately, where you work is legally restricted based on your citizenship. So if you're from Europe, currently you can live and work in London, you can move around Europe. And other countries have different rules on the UK. So for example, it's going to be a lot easier to move to the UK if you're Canadian than if you're American. So Commonwealth citizens might have an easier time getting into the UK and getting a work visa. So in America, LA, it's a lot harder to move there to find work. It depends on your nationality. It depends on where you're born. Little things like if you have a criminal record, there's lots of different variants to why you might not be able to move to America and get a work visa. And I know that even for UK citizens, getting an American work visa is actually very hard. So these rules and regulations, they change all the time depending on the country, depending on your current government. So really what you need to do, if you want to move country to find film work, you need to head straight to your local passport office and you need to ask what the rules currently are for you as a citizen of your country to move to that country. Another aspect to consider is major cities such as Los Angeles and London, they might have more work, but they also have more competition. So before moving to a major city, get some work experience, get some initial film credits, get some education where you're already based. And it's going to be a lot cheaper and easier to get all your initial work experience where you are than moving city and looking for it then. Additionally, also just make sure that you speak the local language. So for example, if you want to move to Germany to work in their film industry, you're going to need to learn German. So I hope these tips have helped you. You can find more film career advice on my blog, and I'm very happy to answer any questions in the comment section below. I also have a very detailed article to accompany this video that you can find linked below also. Thank you.